Welcome to another interesting episode of CELEB BIZ with me, Amile Josu. Well, brace yourself for an uplifting session today as we journey into the world of a remarkable gospel musician. I mean, up until recently, I thought he was only a gospel musician, but I got to know he's so much more than that. So he brings this passionate feel to every song he ministers. I should say so, yeah. I mean, I have my personal favorites when it comes to his catalog or discography, but trust me, when you get to know who my guest is, you'll agree that indeed he is, he has that unction of worship, yes. Well, today I'm talking to a gospel musician who also doubles as a lecturer and also a minister of God's word, or let me say a pastor. The anointed man, Akesse Brempong, is my guest on CELEB BIZ today. Welcome, Akesse.
Thank you, Amelie. Good to be here.
It's always good to be in the presence of an anointed man of God like yourself. Yes?
I'm blushing already.
But it's good to know that you're a pastor as well as a lecturer. No wonder I brought a pen, because today I'm willing to take notes. I'm here to learn, because meeting an academician is not that easy, yeah?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be schooled today.
No, I'm the learner. Today I'm the learner.
I
So
see.
I'm going to do all the learning, yes. So, when I read about you, I realized your full name is Phil Evans.
Yes.
Akesse Brempong.
Yeah.
It's a very funky name.
Is it?
Yeah. So I was even saying, okay, so why didn't you use Phil Evans?
Yeah, that's
Because that name alone is like a showbiz, you know.
It's a showbiz.
Yeah.
That was what I felt
Okay.
until I spoke to my father.
Oh, okay.
And my father, the Ashanti man that he is, and royalty as well. So he felt the Akesse Brempong carries weight, and it has a lot of identity as an African artist. My argument was like, the white people can't mention my name. When I started going international, and he was like, you shouldn't do cry boni now.
Yeah, I know, right?
So my father was like, I'm going to be more and I won't hate it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So the moment you become a big name, they learn to, say your name and say it correctly. So I chose to go with Akesse Brempong because I feel it has a lot of identity. It embodies who I am as an African, and of course, the royal and the prominent person that my father saw in me and gave me that name. So yeah, I liked my name.
Yeah.
Even though Phil Evans is funky.
I know, right? But I also realized most of the people in the gospel music circles refer to you as Lion.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, of course, if you follow me, you know that off the stage, I'm that cool, calm, collected
Very
person.
reserved, yeah.
But on the stage, the lion comes to life. And again, my disposition for reggae music and other alternatives, made the people within the industry start calling me the lion. If you follow reggae, you know that the totem of the reggae music people,
Lion of Judah.
Lion of Judah.
Yeah. So you are the Lion of Judah.
It resonates with me.
Awesome. Awesome. But tell us, let's talk about the pastoral side that comes to you. At what point in time do you realize that there was a calling on your life?
From 17 years, when I was 17 years, my mother tells me that there were prophetic words that had gone ahead of me when I was in the womb about my destiny and all of that, but she never was keen about it. But when I went to Kumasi High School and had my own encounter and started following the will of God for my life, it was not too long after conversion, after my encounter with God, that I started entering into leadership positions in high school. So got converted in my first year of high school. By the second year, I was actually in the SU executive team. I was also music director for the SU group, Shalom Singers in Kumasi High School. And I became PENSA president for Pentecost Students and Associates. So it was evident that God will have me be in leadership and be pastoring people. Of course, if you are the Pensa president of Kumasi High School, which is like 2,000 students at the time, you were pastoring about 500 students who were within the Pentecost Students and Associates fraternity. So it was some huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Right from there, I was music director for Voice of the Spirit, was an interdenominational group, music group in Kumasi. Prince of Mentor fame came through that. Enstroma, who is also a gospel musician, Pastor Emmett now, Pastor Prince at Holy Hill Assemblies of God. All of them came from that group. Okay. And our teens were in that group, and I was music director for that group as well. So it was quite evident that the call of God was upon me, and the idea of pastoring was what I was running away from.
Okay.
Because again, I was a funky young man, and at the time, pastoring wasn't that funky.
Yeah,
you know, when you heard about pastors, you were seeing people in cassock,
so criff, and
and some long chain,
lifestyle.
you know. So I wasn't so amused about the kind of pastors I was seeing. So it wasn't something I wanted to be until I came in contact with Precious Heyman, who was more like my spiritual father growing up, who was president for Voice of the Spirit. He was a charismatic leader, you know, so, and I saw myself in him some way, somehow. I think from that point on, I started yielding to the idea of doing ministry when the time is right. So yeah, I've known that the hand of God was upon me right from my teenage years, somewhere around 17 years.
Awesome. So when did you finally decide to,
embrace it
and, go full time?
That was 2019.
Okay.
2019.
So it's quite recent.
Quite recent.
So music, you went into music professionally before?
Yes, I went into music professionally as a recording artist in 2014.
Okay.
2014. And in 2019, the leadership of my church called me into the pastorate. And I felt the time was ripe. So I walked in.
Go into it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as you said, you're the funky type. Was there no tendency for you to, fine, you were the Pensa president back then.
Yes, I was.
So there was no room for you to be, let's say, a bad boy or anything of that sort?
Before that, I was. Before I had my encounter with God in high school, I was. In primary school, I was there. I was the ruddy boy leading gangs in Kumasi.
Okay.
I grew up in Kumasi, Ahinsan, precisely. If you know Ahinsan, you need some tough skin to be in that terrain. Yeah, so I was quite into it. I mean, I'd done karate, and of course, if you do your karate as a young man, you need to show some skills, break some legs and some
displaying them
and things. So we've done all that until my encounter in high school.
Okay.
I mean, the story of my conversion is quite intriguing. I was going to Kumasi High School. I had chosen Kumasi High School first, second, third choice.
Oh wow!
My father,
you really wanted
I wanted to be there. My father was pissed. So pissed that he actually wanted to take me to Tia Ahmadiyya.
Oh.
And Tia Ahmadiyya is a Muslim school, right?
Definitely.
So if a Christian father
go into, so just to punish you.
Just but as a no, it's either high school or no school.
Else.
So he eventually took me there, and my father did something that I believe was the catalyst for my encounter with God. Before I left high school, he called me into his bedroom, laid hands on me, and prayed some real prayers. Some very hearty prayers over me. And of course, I was going to Kumasi High School because I had friends who were living the life I wanted to live. And I wanted to be in that school to be, join the bandwagon of bad boys, But the moment I got to high school, I believe my father's prayer started kicking in.
Oh,
such that every time I was on the verge of doing something silly, I could hear my father's prayer ringing in my ears.
Wow.
You know, and that, I believe, was one of the reasons I had the kinds of encounters I had, and eventually changed. So yeah, my father was the one that actually, you know, started all of this for me. I believe, you know, the kinds of things that I am doing today, I can actually link all of it to my father's prayer back in the day I was entering high school.
Awesome. But you're a man who wears many hats. I mean, a gospel musician.
I have Coolio, I have...
I mean, before the cameras started rolling, I could see answering calls, been busy all day.
Yeah.
In academia.
Yeah.
You have the church to take care of, and your own career as a gospel musician.
Yeah.
How do you find balance in all these diverse roles? And I mean, what insights do each of these, you know, roles bring to your life?
Yeah. I believe they are very much interconnected. I mean, if you take my pastoring and my lecturing career, you are dealing with people.
Yeah.
You are either teaching the scriptures or you are teaching principles in academia. You are imparting knowledge some way, somehow, spiritual knowledge, or you can say carnal knowledge, whatever it is. You know, so it's quite interconnected, and it's a privilege to even mentor students, impart them spiritually and physically, you know. And of course, the environment, the academic environment where I am working also gives me some leverage. It's a Christian university, so all of my Christian values from church translate in there as well. You know, so it's like pastoring people in church and pastoring some people in uni as well. Yeah. And of course, when it comes to my music as well, it is the insights that I glean from the messages I prepare and all of that that sometimes lead to the writing of the deep songs, you call it, that I write. It's the encounters that I have with God that translate into all of that, and sometimes my personal experiences with God translate into the music. So there's a lot of interconnection in those three different facets of my life.
So when it comes to the professions, it's just those three, right?
There are some of them I have had to lay down. I studied BA communication design in tech, right? So if you put me behind all the graphic design softwares, you can get something out of me.
Definitely.
So all the...
A design on the side.
Of course. So all my graphics that you see from my album labels to the videography, all the animations, that's all me.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, because I wanted to ask about something. So you before I double into your lecturing side, I realized there's some, even with your very first video, Crazy Love.
Yeah.
I sat back then, since you released that video, it still makes sense now.
Yeah.
Not to say music expires, no, but then the concept of the video, talking about the horse, that concept, I was like, okay, that back then people were just standing by flowers. Gospel music, you stand by a flower, any nice tree, you know, sing, and then you will, and then, but the work that went into it, it looks like you had everything mapped out right from the start. Exactly.
So, I mean, my training in communication design comes to play a lot, even in conceptualizing for my videos, graphics, and all of that. So you can trace that to my background in communication design.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, because I'm within that terrain, I also have friends who are into it, and I can fall on like-minded people. Of course, so the guy who directed Crazy Love, is a good friend of mine.
Okay.
He's in the UK now doing amazing stuff. Stanley Ajete.
Okay.
You know, so I like to shoot with Stanley because the moment I describe something
gets
to
you,
him,
yeah.
he can get into my head and know exactly what I want. So that's some of the privileges those things afford me.
But what courses are you teaching in Pentecost University?
Same vein, communication and media.
Okay.
So if you wanted to get a higher degree, you probably meet me in school.
Oh, I think I'll reconsider that. Yeah, I have to.
So you may come to the Department of Communication and Media in Pentecost University, and you are likely to meet me if you major in advertising.
Okay.
So I'm like the brands and advertising expert in the department.
Awesome. Awesome. So when Akesse is in the classroom teaching, how, I mean, some lecturers can be really stern and strict, I must say. But you being a young man, funky like that, passionate when it comes to the calling of God.
Yes.
How do you draw that fine line between being a strict and stern lecturer and then being a minister, or let me say, a celebrity on the side too?
Yes. Yes, I get you. But you see, I draw inspiration from the scripture that says that Jesus is both the lion and the lamb. How can somebody be a lion and the lamb at the same time? The lion speaks to, if you like, his raggedy side.
Ferocious, you know.
Yeah, and the lamb speaks to his meek and mild side. You know, so there's a time for the meek and mild Akesse Brempong, and there's also the time for the raggedly
lion to come
out. Yeah, and if you ask my students, I'm the sweetest lecturer you can have. But very principled.
Okay.
Very, very principled. You don't walk into my class when I'm in there already.
Oh, there's that one.
So you want to come to class, make sure you are there before I walk in. And the students will tell you that 5 minutes into time, I'm there.
Oh.
Don't miss lectures, you know, and all of that. Very principled, but also very loving, very affectionate towards my students. Yeah.
Have you had the opportunity to have, I mean, personal encounters with these students?
Of
where
course.
You've had to, people come to school with issues.
Of course.
So you have to go out of your way as a lecturer and maybe be a pastor to them. It's happened.
Many times. Many times. And especially because I am in a Christian university, it affords us the opportunity to impart them in those ways. So in Pentecost University, there is a mentorship program where every senior member is assigned about 10 to 15 students that you mentor every year. And in that space, you are able to pour into them, not just academically, spiritually, help them through life, basically. And that affords me a lot of opportunity to impart students that way. And of course, when they leave school, when they graduate, they send you very sweet messages. They're telling you how you have imparted their life, apart from being a lecturer. And when I receive such messages, it's just encouraging, you know. I've had situations where I walk into an office and I'm looking for something. And there's some form of liberties and some of privileges accorded you. I'm like, why?
What did I do to deserve this?
There's this manager here who says that you were his lecturer in Pentecost University. And I've been lecturing for only 4 years.
Okay.
Before that, I was head of communication for the university before I switched to faculty. You know, so in just 4 years of lecturing, you impart people in such ways that when they go out, you start meeting them in corridors of power. I was at your office this week, I think sometime Tuesday. And surprisingly, I walked into one of my students.
Oh, that's nice.
Who was doing her internship with you in your institution. You know, I'm like, what are you doing here, Adobe? As I said, I'm doing my national service. Okay, I'm looking for this person. Go find the person for me. You know, so it's always intriguing when you see your students do well, and when you are mile, the extra mile that you went for them start, to show up.
Awesome. But being a musician and a pastor at the same time, I must say, with your background in ministry, then suffice to say, songwriting comes easy to you.
Of course, I mean, if you're looking at the artistic side,
Yeah,
the moment I get inspired,
it has to go into something.
we have to write. Yesterday, we're in the studio the whole day. A friend of mine from the UK was here, and we needed to write songs. So we came into the studio. He's in the UK. He's the founder of the Spirituals, Wade in the Water.
Yeah.
And he came down for a few days. He said, let's hang out, let's write songs. We're here, just the keyboard. My keyboard is myself, Pastor Manny, and Junior. And we started writing. So there's that side. And there's also prophetic songs. You may be in a service, a message is preached, and something jumps in your spirit, and it births a song. Or you may be going through, there's also, I glean some insight from David when he says that the Lord surrounds me with songs of deliverance. It means that David went through dangers that the Lord delivered him from, and that deliverance that God gave him birthed a song. So when David talks about songs of deliverance, it means that he was on the verge or in some dangers, he got delivered, and the situation birthed a song. Just like Moses and the people of Israel, having gone through the Red Sea, they came out, they started singing about the deliverance God gave them. So my life experiences also have a way of inspiring songs, right? So the things I experience, sometimes you'll be in a service, some rhema jumps at you, you start to prophesy it, and that becomes a prophetic song. Or we can just hang out as friends, songwriters, pick a scripture. Like last night what we were doing, we just looked at Revelation 7 and what is happening in Revelation 7 as we discussed, birthed a song here.
Awesome. So when it comes to the whole music thing, promoting your music, with the numbers you have as a pastor, the whole church, how do you leverage that to promote your music?
Of course, that's a good thing. I mean, you pastor in a church, the numbers are large, they see their pastor, release music. Of course, they will jump on it. They will share it on social media. They will send it to their friends. And again, the people that are close to you sometimes see the genesis of the song. So for instance, in 2019, our church has this yearly conference called Stand in the Gap. It's 48 hours non-stop prayer.
That's empowerment.
Empowerment Worship Center. And Reverend Ben Doku was preaching about taking the city gates, And as I listened to the song, there was a prophetic song that was bubbling in my spirit. When I went up the stage, it erupted. It was a huge thing in that conference that year. Came to the studio and arranged the song and put it on my recent album called The Awakening. So the people in Empowerment Worship Center, when they hear that song, they know the genesis. Where it started. They know the anointing that actually inspired the song. And so they can relate to the song better. And they can recommend the song to somebody when a person is dealing with something they think that has a solution in the song. They will do that. And that's one of the ways church members can help spread the song. And that's how we can leverage these platforms we have.
And I believe your congregation is mostly made up of the youth.
Of course, our church is very youthful.
A youthful one,
It's a very youthful church,
But being a leader of such a congregation, how do you deal with the complex nature of the youth, especially the Gen Zs? And all that they tag along with.
Again, back to scripture. Timothy was a young pastor. Paul mentored him, put him in charge of a church. And in Paul's writings to Timothy, he gives Timothy some guides as to how Timothy should conduct himself as a pastor of a church, as a young pastor of a church. Timothy was probably somewhere 19 years when he started pastoring. And Paul says that when it comes to the older women, regard them as your mothers. When it comes to the younger women, they are your sisters.
Yeah.
The younger guys are your brothers. So, of course, the girls may not want to see you as a brother, but want to see you as something else.
Yeah.
But you are the man of God. And the scripture tells you to see them in a certain light. So you behave a certain way that is worthy of the call that God has placed on your life. That is my guiding principle as far as dealing with young people in my church is concerned.
When I approach you to bring business,
Business.
maybe I need you for a show.
Yeah.
We've already talked about why people shouldn't allow, gospel musicians especially, shouldn't allow the church to use them, but then they shouldn't be able to make their case. You talked about, I think, was it the credit balance thing you mentioned in the past interview I think I watched. But then, when it comes to business, what approach do you use? Are you coming in as that pastor, so you go like, oh, Nyamejumana share, so you let's do maybe a barter trade, or I'll perform for free. Or let's say, oh, I won't charge you much.
Yeah.
There's something. How do you go about that transaction?
Yeah. So as a matter of principle, I don't front transactions. Okay. I have a team.
Yeah.
Pearl and my management team deal with those kinds of things. But we are very balanced people.
Okay.
Very, very balanced. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing for us. We'll examine what the people are that are calling us, what they are expecting of us, and we strike a good balance. So it's for me, the impact is more important to me than
the financial gains,
monetary gains.
Okay.
The moment you put money ahead of the gift that you carry and your assignment, you are bound to go down. That's what I believe.
Okay.
What I carry, money can't buy.
Yeah, that gift.
So I won't let money stand in the way of what I carry.
Awesome.
Yeah. But in the same vein, I work with musicians. You asked me to come for an event. My standard team is a team of 10. 3 singers, 5 musicians. Okay. That's the standard team. That's not even the recording team. That's the barest minimum we can come with. A manager and myself. If we are going outside of Accra, there's a driver that drives us if we need to transport the whole team by bus. So, and these are A-class musicians.
Yeah.
And you need to pay them well. So there has to be, a delicate balance between the money side and the ministry side.
So considering your reserved nature and the way you really sit back and observe, because I think if it's not about the show, or maybe let me say church, we hardly see you out there like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't it affect your visibility as an artist? Because what they say lately, attention is currency.
Yeah.
So always reserved in your corner, minding your business.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect your visibility.
If you look at it the business way, it does. Of course, I mean, you are a musician.
Yeah.
People must see you do your thing. But if you look at it the ministry way, not at all.
Okay.
Jesus didn't need media attention.
Okay.
He was media attention.
I get it. I see. He was a media attention,
yes.
Right?
He
was a focal point.
He enters a city. All he has to do is to heal one leper.
And it goes out there. So you believe that your reputation precedes you.
Let your work speak for you. For example, 2 years ago, there was a lady who testified about how that my music in the theater, she was undergoing surgery. Her story was this: she wanted the fruit of the womb, praying with the husband, took some time. Somebody introduced my music to them. They said, you need to listen to Akesse Brempong. They started religiously listening to the music and praying with it. She conceived. Now, in the middle of the conception, I think 7 months into the conception, she sometime within the conception, she said that the baby would not kick. And then the doctor examined her and said that in 24 hours, if you don't feel the baby kick, we must operate upon you and take the baby out. They said, oh, the husband started playing my music to the baby, and the baby would kick. They would play all kinds of music. They would not hear from the baby, but when they play my music, the baby kicks. So they started playing my music for the baby when they don't hear the baby kick. And I think after 7 months into the thing, one night she got something abruption. The medical people would understand, and they called the doctor. Doctor, come to the theater. Let's operate. You take the baby out. You can conceive another one. So they went in there. The surgery was done. The doctors were about closing up the wound, and they placed the baby in some bowl. That thing that they place dead babies in. I mean, closing up the woman so they can just dispose the baby of. Then the husband remembered that this baby used to kick to
response to Akesse's songs. Yeah.
So this baby must kick to the song.
Wow.
So he reached out for his phone and started playing my spontaneous worship song. And he said 1 minute into it, the lifeless baby came back to life.
Wow.
It was in Kumasi. And they brought, it wasn't like they brought me the boy. He was about 2 years then.
Oh, he had grown.
Yeah, awesome. He had grown then. And I saw him, you know. So those things are currencies, like you say.
Yeah.
Those things are currencies. And if I begin to show you, there's a folder on my phone called Testimony. Okay. Every time I'm down and I feel like quitting, I go into that folder and read the encounters people have had with my music, and I'm back on it again. So those things for me are the most important things. And those things can, if the media, for example, if I share that testimony, the media latches on it.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. You mentioned that when you're down, I mean, more like who motivates the motivator? Because when I'm also down, I just go on YouTube, soak in your worship sessions.
Yes.
I mean, the incense 1, 2, spontaneous worship, the things those songs do to me, I can't explain. But considering, I can say as a pastor, musician, the way, what's going to put you down like that?
Things do. Yeah.
What were some of those low moments? Just.
Can you believe David, of all people, suffered depression?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
The prophet Isaiah suffered depression. So you can.
What are some of the coping mechanisms you use to work yourself out of those moods?
People around me, family.
Support system.
Yeah, I have great support systems. Okay. My wife, my kids, my management team, like-minded friends who are also doing the things that I'm doing, and of course the people who have gone ahead of us. So the people ahead, the people that stand with you, and the people
behind you
can be, a great system around you for you to cope. Yeah,
that's awesome. Let's talk about your contribution to the gospel music industry.
Yay! Have I contributed?
Oh no, you've done a lot to change the status quo in there.
Appreciate that.
With you coming in, one of the contemporary musicians, your style of music, alternate sounds and all that. It's inspiring, and I've seen you contributing to most of the issues in this industry.
Yeah.
You talked about the fact that, you mentioned that churches should start their own record labels, which some have started. And then there's this part where, if you heard what Reverend Istridonaba said recently, there's too much entertainment in the church. Yeah. And now the church is also going into the music business then. Yeah. And the entertainment aspect has been lamented. Yeah. How do we go about these kind of things?
Well, I don't think Reverend Eastwood meant there is too much music in the church.
So the music is allowed.
He said there is too much entertainment.
Music is part of entertainment.
Music is entertainment?
Yes.
Not in church.
Anyway, okay.
Music is part of our worship in church,
Okay.
right? So, of course, there is the entertaining bit of the art, because the music is art.
Yeah.
It can be entertaining, but in church, the entertainment is not the goal. So, if we do music in church to entertain, we've lost it.
Okay.
We don't do music to entertain in church. Music is more powerful than mere entertainment. It's for change in church, you know. So when Reverend Istu says that there's too much entertainment, it means that we are probably losing track on the purpose of the music we are doing in church.
Okay.
Or we are bringing some things that don't mix into the church. I don't think he means that there's too much music in church, right? So let us not misconstrue his statement of too much entertainment in church to mean there's too much music in church. Of course, music has long been a part of our worship. I mean, David instituted 24-hour worship. Music. Started paying musicians to function in the church 24 hours. So, in the model of church, music plays a big role in church. It is the problem. The problem is when we lose sight on the purpose of music in church and start using it for entertainment. It must never be reduced to entertainment. We also don't have to lose sight of the fact that art in itself can be entertaining.
Yeah.
All right? And that we don't have to just get stuck in the entertainment function of the art, because music is the art. So that's what I believe. I don't think that Reverend meant that there's too much music.
Yeah, I mean, he said the other thing. I mean, he cited the example where there are some members in the congregation who go like, "Oh, I saw you with drums, Ebanta praises ne crying your day."
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. And especially when there's that ban on noise making and drumming, people refrain from going to church, saying, "Oh, everything will be boring." What would you say about that perception that without the drums, without the instruments, it's not that touching to have, praise and worship in the church?
Of course, there are parts of our liturgy and in our worship where God commands us to use the timbrels, the harp, and different kinds of instrument, the psaltery, for praise. We also know that there are other scriptures that point to vocal music.
Yeah.
For example, Paul and Silas didn't have the drums, the bass, the keyboard in the prison, but their praise was so potent enough to shake the foundations of the prison and liberate them and other people that were in the prison. So it is not the instrument that makes the praise.
Okay.
It's the people deployed to play the instrument. So if you make the instrument stand in between you and God, you don't know what you are made of. Right? So there are certain instances where our praise may not necessarily come through instruments, the playing of instruments. But there's also the flip side where Bible commands us to play skillfully on our instruments in praise of God. So there is room for worship without music and without instruments. There's also room for worship with the music and with the instruments as well. Okay. So what does that tell us? Without the music doesn't, and with the music doesn't necessarily make it worship.
Yeah.
The people involved
is what counts. Awesome. Would you also agree to the fact that the church is a business?
Church business, yes. Jesus said, "I must be about my Father's business." What was he talking about? He was talking about ministry.
Okay.
What it depends on your definition of business.
Okay.
Jesus came and he was transactional. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. I've come to give. It's transaction. You have life and have it more abundantly. So in that vein, yes.
Okay.
It's business.
Okay.
It's serious business. and you do not have to approach it lightly.
Okay.
So when Jesus said, I must be about my Father's business, he was saying that his preoccupation should be the will of his Father.
Yeah.
And that is my disposition when it comes to ministry. It's serious business. We don't play there.
Yeah.
You have to, it's a soldier kind of thing, you know. So don't come in here thinking that it's going to be rosy and you are just going to, no, you must have the mentality of a Wall Street guy,
Yeah.
going to work, you know,
To
you dress
broadcast
for it,
and yeah.
you project things, you know, whatever the business people do, that has to be your disposition towards ministry. It's not a lousy thing. It's not you know, something that you come in there not prepared for it. No, it's serious business. Jesus says so. I must be about my Father's business. But it is not a money making venture.
Okay.
It is soul business.
Soul business.
Yes.
And not about money making.
It's not a money making venture. You want money, go and do banking.
Interesting. But being a pastor, do you get paid for that?
As at this point, my pastoring is voluntary.
Okay.
Yeah, my pastoring, I'm not on the payroll in my church.
for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I enjoy it.
I know, right?
I enjoy it.
You're passionate
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's basically because I'm into a lot of things that,
Okay.
you know, that generate.
To keep the revenue coming
yes,
in. Yeah.
and I don't want to be another on another mouth for my church to be
Yeah.
feeding. No, so I'm okay.
Okay.
Good.
So when we talk about back to this music label thing by the churches, as a gospel musician, people are lamenting lack of sponsorships in the space.
Mhm.
So you being a gospel musician, being a pastor, when you're having shows or concerts or events and you need sponsorship,
Yeah.
do you agree that if the church is setting up labels and the church must rise up to the task of sponsoring its people? Because gospel music is music for the church.
Yeah.
Instead of them falling on corporate bodies, because people talk about the fact that why would maybe an alcoholic beverage company sponsor a gospel show? It's unheard of. What do you think about what do you think about this issue?
Of course, I believe that the church is the biggest beneficiary of gospel music, and gospel music is one route for advancing the kingdom.
Yeah.
So churches can leverage music to advance their cause, right? And of course, if you are the biggest beneficiary, you should be able to invest back into it.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't expect the corporates who have a different disposition to be the ones spearheading gospel music. When the churches complain that gospel music has become too transactional, I always say that it's because we left it for the world to regulate it.
Okay.
Now, if churches had great labels,
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at it this way: who is in a better position to manage gospel musicians? The world, or I mean, corporates or churches, Christian bodies? Obviously, Christian bodies.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we hear that gospel musicians do and it becomes news, I believe that if Christian institutions were regulating the space of Christian music, those things may be kept, because you cannot be signed to a label like Integrity Music, right, and dress a certain way.
Yeah.
When you go out to the public, you can't talk a certain way when you go out in the public. We can't see you in certain places, because the label regulates the artists that they are managing, right? And how you are supposed to look, where you're supposed to appear, how you are supposed to engage the media. All of those things record labels regulate. If churches are doing that, they would better regulate gospel musicians. If you will leave it for corporates to do, all they know about is profit.
Yeah.
Right? So they would heavily monetize gospel music. Right? And that's why I kept saying that churches should start record labels. Because if we don't, there are other corporates who see that, oh, gospel music is now a viable, really viable business. And when they come into that sector, all they care about is money. So you will see that the theology of gospel musicians will begin to change to reflect what the corporates believe in, you know, and the gospel musician will not be free to do certain kinds of things, because the corporate cares about how much money you bring in, not how much impact you are making, whether spiritual impact. They don't care about those things. They care about numbers, and they reduce souls to numbers. Yeah. So I believe that when churches do that, they would better regulate the space. That's why I called for churches to enter into the space. The issue of sponsorship is crazy, especially in our part of the world. When we say Ghana is 70% Christians, I shudder at the thought, because we can't be living in a space where we are 70% Christian and corporates are operating within the space, which is 70% Christian, and they fail to support Christian events. You know, and I don't know whether it's Christians who are not rising up to the occasion and making demands, you know, because Ghanaian corporates, for some reason, don't want to be associated with gospel music at all, you know, but we are 70% Christian.
I know, right? But would you also attribute it to the lack of professionals in that space? Because it's the perception out there is that for gospel music, it's more of a fair thing. Oh, my husband invested in me, especially for the female musicians, that he's going to double as my manager, even though the person doesn't have that professional expertise, let me say. So they can't even front when it comes to business meetings or transactions. Do you think that's the problem?
That era, I think, is long gone.
Okay.
That era is long gone. I mean, before contemporary gospel came to the fore. Let me just use my generation, okay? So I started recording from 2014, right? When I started recording, Kwesi Otin was a big name, Joe was a big name, Dinah Hamilton, Celestine Donko, and a couple of other people within the space, right? And these guys were operating with huge teams. Kwesi Otin, for example, had Flo Raver, a huge team behind him, musicians, managers, and all of that. Joe was with Love Creed or something of that sort. And so were a lot of these guys operating with teams. So that era where gospel musicians were not organized, long gone. So if you look at our crop of musicians, we seem to have even better production, much better production teams than our secular counterparts. Talk about event organization. Top notch.
The live recording sessions and all that.
Yeah. So when it comes to expertise in our field, I don't think we lack.
Okay.
We don't lack expertise at all, except for the idea that, I don't know for what reason, corporates shy away from supporting gospel music in our space, especially in Ghana. It's not the same when you go to South Africa and Kenya.
So it's a Ghana thing?
It is a Ghana thing.
I see.
It is a Ghana thing. But we would break that thing.
I trust that. Spiritually,
we'll break it.
It has to happen. It has to happen. And then what do you think about gospel musicians meddling in politics?
Yeah, that's another delicate issue within our space. As much as the gospel musician is an individual, and he's also a person, has ideologies, and can identify with the ideologies of a political party, the gospel musician can belong to a political party. But the other thing is when you know that the people your ministry is for is cross partisan.
Yeah.
Let me say everybody comes from everywhere, and the revelation that you align with this party, especially in Ghana, Ghanaians can't tolerate the idea of a gospel musician supporting a party. I don't know why it is, but we have not come to terms with that fact. I know that maybe in America it's not the same. I know the Donnie McClurkins, the BB Winances and co support parties. They actually go for political rallies and they support ideologies and policies. For example, I know that Donnie McClurkin supports a party that is pro-life, because he believes that life does not start with birth. Life starts in the womb. So the party he supports is a party that supports the idea that you can't have, the party is against abortion. Right. If I'm a gospel musician here and there's a party in Ghana that holds that ideology and another party doesn't hold that ideology, I definitely will go with the pro-life party. But the idea that I cannot come to the media and say that I belong to party A, party B,
or compose a song for them,
it's something I don't know how we're going to fight it. But at this point, we've not come to that terms. And so gospel musicians are sometimes vilified for identifying with one party ideology or another.
Before we wrap up, tell me, what's that philosophy you live by?
To whom much is given,
much is expected.
much is required.
Interesting. Let's say sometime, maybe after 70, Akesse Brempong at home, with the family, grandchildren reflecting. What's that legacy?
Legacy.
Yeah.
Wow.
You wish to, live or remembered for?
Yeah. I've read about David, and it was said about him that he was the sweet psalmist of Israel. David, the sweet psalmist
of Israel.
I think it's a nice thing. When on my tombstone, and they write Akesse Brempong, the sweet psalmist of Ghana.
Awesome.
It's a nice thing, isn't it?
It's
a nice thing.
It's so apt, Considering what you've done, it's so apt. Let's talk about your new project before we go.
Yeah, it's called the Awakening project. We released it a few weeks ago, doing great on the streaming platforms. It was recorded live, so we have some great videos of it on YouTube. It's on every platform that you stream music from. Apple Music, Spotify, Boomplay, is catching fire on Boomplay, and I know Ghanaians are on Boomplay a lot. So look for their album, the Awakening album. Some great album that will help you through this season.
Awesome. And hopefully one of these days I'll pay a visit in church. Which of the branches? Is the Jolu one or the?
I'm back to Jolu.
Okay, so I'll pass by one of these days and see you in action on the, behind the pulpit and everything.
And now when you come to Jolu, my father will be in the pulpit.
Be the one. Okay. That, no
but
problem.
it's a fiery preacher. You should come.
Definitely. I will. Thank you so much for opening your doors to us. I've learned a lot today. It's been a learning experience, and I believe you doing the watching have also picked a thing or two from this discussion. I told you it was going to be an uplifting one, and yes, indeed, we've talked about scripture, we've talked about the music industry, and maybe we'll have another conversation.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have another one. But thank you so much for making time for us.
My pleasure.
Really, really appreciate. And thank you for doing your the watching. But until I come your way again, my name as always is Amele Josu, and this has been Celeb Biz. Stay safe and be blessed.